Listen up, last time I'm saying this. If you want your boy back, you'll eliminate 100 humans and bring them here before I return in 24 hours. Don't be shy though. If you want to add a few more for extra credit, I don't mind. I know you need it. Might need a bigger drop site though. Yeah, 100 humans, dead, delivered here, due in 24 hours, or the future plot device dies. It's rather straightforward, even for you, Kakarot. The idea of the character Raditz from the colossal hit series Dragon Ball being underutilized or missed potential is one of the most common, vivid sentiments you'll hear in the fandom, to an almost sickening degree. Right up there with Vegeta should be the main character or Cooler should be canonized. As you head into your local Dragon Ball forum or YouTube comment section and see someone say, "Oh, Raditz was wasted potential," and then proceed to list their hackneyed reasons as to why that is, as well as what his hypothetical role in the cast could have been. I have noticed the kind of fans that big up this sentiment don't fully appreciate why the direction the series chose to go in was for the best, and frankly, why it was a much better decision than having Raditz stick around. Here's why the distinguished mirror to Goku wasn't this guy, or even this guy, but it was Raditz.
Good luck, assholes! You'll never catch the great Raditz!
And how his role in the series is ultimately superior to any role the fans could have attached to him. He wasn't wasted at all, and the mileage we got out of the character should be acknowledged. To make this clear, there's nothing wrong with people wanting to speculate and create what-if scenarios. Those can be fun and engaging, but at times it's at the expense of genuinely good material that Toriyama, Lord rest his soul, had put together because fans insist on wanking certain ideas as if said ideas are better than what actually exist. In this case, it is not. I'm not the first one to say this, nor will I be the last, but I believe Raditz was used phenomenally in the story at large. He is a prime example of the small role, big impact trope. He's a game-changing villain who jumpstarts a lot of what comes later on in the series when things take a much grander and serious tone. He introduces a lot of key narrative elements and underlying thematics of the story, not to mention being one of Dragon Ball's primary inaugurations, if not the best inauguration in Dragon Ball history, as well as anime and manga history as a whole. Here you have this mysterious being wearing a strange uniform, who manages to easily fold Goku like a lawn chair in a matter of moments. At the time of Raditz's introduction, Goku is the world's strongest. He had overcome and defeated bandits, monsters, robots, an evil military organization, the world's most dangerous hitman, and most prominently, an ancient evil, and then immediately after, the more powerful reincarnation of that ancient evil. He had trained under the greatest martial artist in the world, and then was trained by God himself, who then offered his position to Goku after he beat the stronger reincarnation of Piccolo. Goku was so powerful and great that God saw him as a more than worthy successor, which Goku turned down, of course, because standing around in one spot for too long just isn't his style. With that being said, Goku has cemented himself as the strongest man on the planet. So where do you voyage from there? Well, space is always nice this time of year. Or in this case, space comes directly to you. Raditz arrives and a lot of significant stuff is happening. From the dramatic reveal of Goku being of alien origin, and that he belongs to a bloodthirsty warrior species known as the Saiyans. And all along in universe, wasn't just a strange boy with a monkey tail. Raditz gives us some insight on the fate of the Saiyans, like how there are only a handful of survivors, the fate of their home planet, and what their overall objectives are. Previous evil factions in the series have expressed the desire to rule the world. It was their ultimate goal, to be worshipped, to have everyone conform to their way of thinking, to enforce their will onto others, to instill terror and hopelessness in the innocent. However, Raditz's presence proposes the extinction of all life. He belongs to an organization of planet brokers who clear out worlds and auction them off to the highest bidder. For people like Raditz, this was just Tuesday. The Earth was just another job. Raditz was unlike any threat anyone had ever seen in the series up to that point. Not only was he super strong, but he was the biological brother of Goku. Now, I've seen multiple people argue that him being Goku's brother is pointless just because he wasn't given the same opportunities as Goku by proxy of being his brother or something to that extent, and how Nappa could have taken his spot instead, missing the point entirely. Raditz wasn't made to be Goku's brother because he would be important later. Emerging out of the same uterus Goku did doesn't entitle him to that right off the bat. By having Raditz be Goku's brother, it sells the evil mirror angle even more, that the kind, pure-hearted, lovable oaf we know as Goku has such a cruel, harsh, brutal monster for a blood relative.
Steady now. Hard to believe. After all this time, you find out you have a brother. Too bad he turned out to be such a creep.
It shows that Goku wasn't some special case who was immune from Saiyan evil, just because he was the main protagonist. The Muten Roshi reveals that Goku's behavior was very unruly as an infant before his head injury, and that ties into none of Goku's relatives being particularly good either. Cue Raditz. He's so bad that Goku was willing to team up with his greatest enemy in order to have a chance of taking this guy down. And when Piccolo asked Goku if he was excited at the prospect of fighting such a high caliber opponent, Goku admitted that normally he would be, but in this instance, he was utterly terrified. It took a helping of flukes, some mental fortitude, and some resilience on the part of our heroes. And the death of Goku, the main protagonist of Dragon Ball, in order to defeat Raditz for good. Earlier on in the battle, Raditz also reveals to Goku and Piccolo that the two Saiyan compatriots he had mentioned earlier are even stronger and mightier than he is. Yet Goku and Piccolo can't even touch this guy. He essentially said that even if Goku and Piccolo managed to win, it would be a hollow victory anyhow. It really puts into perspective how Raditz was on an entirely different level. He had a huge role and impact, there's no question. That alone more than warrants Raditz's due respect for his contributions to the overall narrative. Before the Saiyans were retconned in Super into basically being similar to humans, something that really hurts the Saiyan arc's greater themes by the way, and Raditz's character too if you think about it, but I'll go into detail about that later. Anyhow, they were an alien race of barbarous blood knights that lived for battle and mayhem. They were nasty, completely of their own volition separate from Frieza. Toriyama didn't just make Raditz Goku's brother in the event that he would return someday and unlock Super Saiyan and Ultra Instinct while eating at the barbecue, just because he's the main character's brother. It was meant to drive home Raditz being Goku's shadowy archetype, an antithesis showcasing what Goku could have been like if he was raised like a Saiyan soldier, or didn't suffer any head trauma at a very young age that ended up erasing his original imperative and rebooting his personality. The very flukes that allowed Goku to have a chance to become more than what he originally was. Raditz is a Goku without the imparted positive values of a nurturing parental guardian or the wise teachings passed on to him by a mentor figure. In a way, a fate like Raditz's is quite literally what the Muten Roshi talked about with his students. How one must not grow complacent and overconfident, as there is always someone more powerful out there, which motivated Goku and Krillin to always strive to improve and not get cocky over their own strength. He both verbalized it and showed it in practice as his Jackie Chun persona, as they were still young, until they no longer needed such a reminder. Raditz himself was a mid-class warrior, something that was stated in the manga and supplemental Toriyama interviews. Though certain writers and series adaptations won't make him out to be a low class, but it's all relative. The way I rationalize this inconsistency or divide is that Raditz is considered lowly in status rather than power alone, probably due to his more cowardly nature. But power-wise, he stands above the majority of Saiyan warriors and looked down on his younger brother for being a low-class reject. Yet Goku went on to rise above that label, improve himself, and as a result of his good deeds and courage was rewarded with the gift of being able to keep his body after death, as well as given the opportunity to train with divine beings. Those are the contrasting qualities between Goku and Raditz. That's what helped make these story elements work so well. Before I continue, I want to go over who exactly Raditz is. A lot of fans of the character will claim that he is a cool character, and the untapped potential is merely a result of Toriyama throwing him in the trash bin. He's the main character's brother, so he should have done more. He had the potential to be great like Goku. The people who say this don't take into consideration Raditz's actual character and personality. As I mentioned, he is the mirror character to Goku. Goku is the brave, kind-hearted, ambitious warrior who seeks stronger and stronger opponents to test his strength against and push past his own limitations. Who is willing to die a brutal death if it means protecting his family and home. Juxtaposed to Raditz, who is nothing more than a brutish, arrogant thug with no redeeming qualities, who has a crippling fear of death. He's a dirty coward who is willing to hide behind a child. Something Krillin calls him out on, by the way.
You coward! He's just a kid! Leave him out of this!
While Goku views strength in combat as a way to improve himself physically, mentally, and spiritually, Raditz views it as an outlet to exercise his own sadism. He mostly boasts about his own superiority while fighting against Goku and Piccolo, only to immediately panic and crumble desperately when he's no longer in control of the situation. He begs, he resorts to lying, he tosses away any kind of pride or dignity in order to save his own ass. Whereas Goku would see losing as an opportunity to better himself, Raditz does not. When you get down to it, any potential he may have had, he squandered on his own. It's not stated or made obvious, but there's inklings of evidence suggesting that he's rather unmotivated. Not to mention unskilled, considering he lost to Goku and Piccolo, who, though were weaker than Raditz, were more skilled as fighters with the ability to focus their ki as an example. Despite having comparatively decent power in Frieza's horde of mooks, he was an unskilled but strong, dirty coward who couldn't even be bothered to train the weakness in his tail, Dragon Ball SD excluded, like Vegeta and Nappa, as well as a young Goku. Being a coward also meant that Raditz was less likely to get any critical injuries on the battlefield, therefore not getting the most out of the strength gains afforded to Saiyans after a near-fatal injury in the form of a power-up, thus justifying his lower battle power. Raditz's personality is probably also the reason why Vegeta and Nappa disliked him. I can't imagine that the kind of Saiyan Raditz was would be too popular.
Raditz! What's a crybaby like you acting all strong for?
He was someone who was perfectly content with cruising alongside others who were stronger while not putting too much effort into his own growth. With all that in mind, it's unlikely that Raditz would have been as great as Goku anyhow due to his own character flaws. He's what Goku could have been under different circumstances. I'm convinced that most people aren't actually interested in Raditz himself, but rather are just enamored with the idea of the protagonist having a brother. It's the only reason Raditz has this wasted potential profile attached to him, when the reality is that he wasn't wasted and served as narrative function in the story. A lot of times, whatever fantasies one wants to implement is not best for the story at large. it's better to prioritize pragmatic storytelling. What someone might say to this is, well, why couldn't Raditz have been redeemed and grown as a person? He didn't even have a chance to change, but Vegeta did? Could Raditz have changed? Anything is possible, but that's irrelevant. As far as redeeming a Saiyan goes, Vegeta was clearly the better and more interesting choice. Vegeta was the Saiyan prince, who surpassed his own father, the king, at a very young age. He was the strongest among Saiyans and a prodigy. He represented the pinnacle of his species. He was even more of an amoral monster than either Nappa or Raditz was, by how callously he tossed those two aside. Vegeta was the personification of everything wrong with the Saiyan culture.
Did you catch that last part? Those things. Dragon Balls, I believe? Yeah, apparently they can grant any wish. Well, I'd say that's worth looking into. Yeah, maybe we can bring back Raditz. Are you kidding? Why would we waste a wish on that worthless scum? Well, in that case, maybe we can wish you had a better hairline.
He was the definitive Saiyan. So when he finally does mellow out on Earth and let go of his genocidal, maniacal ways, it hits much harder than it would have if Raditz had undergone his character arc and development instead. If it was Raditz, it ultimately would have accomplished the same exact thing, but objectively less good. Again, because Vegeta was the exemplary Saiyan. Very quickly, I would like to point out that, funnily enough, it's Nappa, of all people, who has shown to have more standards than either Raditz or Vegeta. Yet he's left out of the equation by fans altogether, most likely due to him being a satellite character who was in Vegeta's shadow, as they both went to Earth at the same time. While Raditz was more than willing to butcher his own brother and nephew, and Vegeta was more than willing to eliminate his own allies he deems useless or if they fail, Nappa has shown sympathy to a Cyberman that Vegeta vaporized after failing to win its skirmish with Ten Shinhan.
Vegeta, why? Why did you do that? Because he reminded me of Brussels sprouts and I hate those.
Later, when Vegeta turns on Nappa, he is genuinely surprised by the betrayal in his final moments. Even having someone as ruthless as Vegeta for a partner, he didn't see it coming. In the Super Broly movie, Nappa, as well as one of the unnamed Saiyan survivors, expressed more shock upon hearing the news about the destruction of planet Vegeta, as opposed to the adolescent Raditz and Vegeta, who expressed little more than apathy at the thought of their family being annihilated. Potentially or definitely.
Guess we lucked out. It's a good thing we decided to ignore Frieza's orders to come home early. Now I'll never be King Vegeta. Vegeta, you have a brother, don't you? Oh yeah, I wonder if he got blown up too. Oh well, like it matters. Oh, and you had a brother as well, correct? Yeah, but he was just gonna be a low class anyway. He was still sleeping in a nursing capsule. What a disgrace. Hey, now that you mention it, I remember Mom sending me off to a planet called Earth. Oh well, I couldn't care either way.
The only humanity Raditz has shown is even more tame and obscure in comparison. In a quick cameo during the Granola arc, he was shown to have a fascination with insects at a young age. So there's a smidge of humanization. Most prominently though in the original manga/anime series, in the one moment he moans Goku for sacrificing his life to save Earth and the people that Raditz deemed insignificant in a somber fashion. But that's about the extent of it. Now, what place would Raditz even have in the main cast if he were to be revived or redeemed? The hypothetical roles he could have filled that I've read by fans are usually so lukewarm and superfluous. He's basically made out to be a discount of either Vegeta or Piccolo. I'll address a few. Oh, he could have been an uncle to Gohan and Goten. Piccolo already fills that. Heck, he even trains and babysits the daughter of his disciple, Gohan. Oh, what if Raditz got stronger and became a rival to Goku or Vegeta? Raditz being a rival to either character would not only be redundant, but thematically less compelling. Goku and Vegeta serve well enough as rivals on their own because they are such polar opposites. One of my all-time favorite moments in the series is the first real exchange between Goku and Vegeta right before their battle. Not only did we get one of the best, if not the best fight in the entire series, but one of the most important pieces of dialogue that perfectly encapsulates the themes within the Saiyan arc and Dragon Ball as a whole in its heyday. It wasn't only a battle for the fate of the world, but also a battle of philosophies. Vegeta is a strong proponent of class. The circumstances of your birth will in turn determine what you become. Vegeta, belonging to royal lineage, was born better, therefore he is better than others. By his philosophy, there is nothing Goku can do to compensate for his low status birth. Goku, however, the person who was considered even more of a worthless Saiyan than Raditz, believes in the value of hard work and overcoming the low expectations placed upon you, as well as not allowing your grim, lowly, or humble beginnings to define you, as they don't make you who you are. The only thing that actually matters is the choices you make, who you choose to be, and what you choose to do. To segue, Dragon Ball is by no means complex, but you can see the importance of choices. Despite how this series may look to someone who's never watched or read it, the outcomes and consequences that result from the choices the characters make can hold some serious weight, even in a series so very simple in nature, but that's a part of the charm. Goku could have chosen to join up with Raditz, but naturally he didn't. Instead, opting to create a third option in the face of Raditz's ultimatum. I don't know about you, but I would care more about my wife and son than a sinister, estranged brother I've never met. They may say that blood is thicker than water, but at times the blood of the Covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And even if Raditz managed to successfully recruit Goku and brought him back to Vegeta and Nappa, it'd probably go something like this. At least eventually.
But he's a hero boof now.
Yes, I has fixed my mistake.
Yes, but before that, you has made your mistake.
But I...
And many mistakes before that.
Wait, I have not...
Many.
Actually, I had...
Many mistakes before that. So, I still has to erase you.
Why?
You cannot guarantee you would not make a mistake again.
But I would not.
But you might.
But I would not.
But you might.
But I would not.
Oh, we could go round and round. Let's do it again.
But I would not.
But you might.
But I would not.
I love this.
But I would not.
Bored now.
But I would not.
Maybe you could try not being a bitch.
Anyways, those are just a few of the more prominent arguments I've seen attempting to justify Raditz's hypothetical return and how he could have settled into the main cast. The ancillary cast of Dragon Ball is already quite bloated and underutilized, and it's not as if Raditz contributes anything new to the table in the way of skills, philosophy, or resources. Like how Bulma has managed to retain her relevancy because she was able to do things outside of punching. Fan stories that involve Raditz usually boil down to just wanting him to get a new transformation boost, or being present for important moments. That can apply to any character for that matter, which is fine. Who doesn't want to see their fan favorite be awesome? But their stories and reasons, as you can see, for wanting Raditz to come back or what he would do lacks any thematic substance that makes Dragon Ball so great. They merely focus on the surface level marketing aspects, only a piece of the whole pie. But getting back on track. Now, Raditz honestly doesn't have much in the way of personality. When you get down to it, he's just a generic Frieza moob who only gets attention because he's a Saiyan and is related to the main character. If it weren't for that, he'd be as overlooked as the likes of a pool.
Check out the boy Hedo.
Or heaven forbid, Kui. But his symbolic connection to Goku and impact on the story make him a more than adequate character who was well utilized. And that's something that can't be understated. That aspect of him doing almost exclusively all of the heavy lifting for his character, though. Though all the retcons caused by Dragon Ball Minus and Super have crapped all over and managed to undermine the greater themes of the original Saiyan arc, because it turned out that Goku was sent to Earth to escape from Frieza, rather than for a mission to depopulate a world deemed as weak in order to prep it for selling, or that he came from loving parents who had a rare marital union instead of having a heartless, uncaring family, as Bardock and Guinea were together for purposes outside of mating and legitimately cared about one another. As I mentioned, the retcons also harmed Raditz's validity, in turn making him look like the pitiful outcast and family black sheep instead of Goku, both in and out of universe, and by extension more pitiful than he ever was. That's quite unfortunate, I would say. Raditz speaks about how Goku was a disgrace for their family and their people. Yet years and years later, we find out that their mother was a non-combatant who wasn't cut out for fighting, and their father embraced a more compassionate side of himself, who formed a genuine bond with his spouse. Something that was rare for Saiyans.
In the end, it was both the alleged weak, low-class soldiers
who chose to face death defiantly while giving it everything they had, while Raditz succumbed to great fear in the face of death, as he lied there hugging the ground, taking solace in the misguided idea that his two comrades will avenge and revive him with the Dragon Balls. So even beyond the grave, Raditz is still catching stray bullets. Oh, he actually caught that. But can he catch rocks?
Stone!
Well, that answers that. To close things off, Raditz was far from misused. He was the perfect mirror to his brother Goku. He came and didn't overstay his welcome. He was a glimmer into the idea of an evil Goku, on top of his massive contribution to Dragon Ball as a whole, retcon, inconsistency, or not. I would say that I sympathize more with Raditz's legacy and how the retcons have affected it more than with the actual character itself. Either way, he was a fantastic starting villain to a new era of Dragon Ball. He was a great prelude to the chaos that would come later on in the series, informing us that there are far more powerful beings in the vast reaches of space, as well as the dramatic reveals about Goku's history. In other words, he served his purpose and served it well.
Also, can I just make a quick comment? Your hairline is fucked up.
If this video gave you something to think about or managed to entertain you, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. With that being said, this is where I hand the mic over to you. What do you think of Raditz? Do you think he was utilized well in the story? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, have a great day and an even more pleasant tomorrow. Aloha.